Good evening, good afternoon, whoever you find yourself in this weird, wild, wacky world of ours, and welcome to another exciting episode of Darkness in Dublin. This evening's scene takes place at Chateau l'Angelique, or the Castle of Angels, because it is a Toreador restaurant and they're just that fancy. The rain outside patters against the stone concrete of the sidewalk. Many ways, oftentimes, people think that if the rain could wash the sin clean, well, Dublin would be a penitent, so Dublin would be an eternal penitent on their knees praying for salvation, the amount of rain the city gets. Clan Toreador has opted this evening to have a meeting to discuss what has been going on in the city and in order to make steps forward in terms of the clan's advancement and where they wish to see themselves. So, with this in mind, we shall enter the interior of the restaurant, which is designed in a very Baroque style French manner. There are a number of very, very exquisitely carved chairs that sit around exquisitely carved tables. The lighting, the atmosphere, the ambiance is all perfect. Paintings hang upon the walls, denoting faces, animals, fruit, ruins, and temples. As you enter, there will be two individuals sitting in the room. I will do the introduction. So, Bishop, you may enter first.
As Francis enters, again, he can kind of be seen in his sort of minimalist, high fashion sort of attire that he appears to have adopted for himself. The sort of thing you'd be buying from some absurdly overpriced tailors like Ralph Lauren. He has a very well-made classic fit cop polo shirt on and tailored linen trousers, and just kind of walks in and once again engages the sight of things and just takes in the air.
Alexander will stand from where he is seated, and he will extend his hand to the sheriff and say, "Bonjour, monsieur. It is a pleasure to see you again."
Bonjour. A pleasure as always. He will just say in French because, got to get some mileage out of that merit.
Allow me to introduce. I do not believe the two of you have met. He will extend his hand towards the young lady who is still seated at the table. Have you met? I do not believe that you have met my child, Monique.
Oh, bonsoir, monsieur. Nice meeting you.
Does she? Does this conversation take place in French or in English?
Are you also French?
He can speak French and he speaks it fluently.
So yes, this conversation will take place in French.
Excellent.
That is amazing that we all speak French.
Not for real, though, right?
It's the bare minimum for us.
Yeah, but not for real, right?
But he will just say, "Good evening, my lady," and he'll, if you allow him, he will take your hand and gently kiss it because he is a gentleman.
Yeah, of course.
Delano nods his head approvingly before he retakes his seat. I do not remember, Sheriff. Do you drink wine or do you not?
Only the finest.
You act as if I would give you anything else.
On the contrary, I come here knowing that you will only give me the finest.
Lindsay, if you'd like to join, step on.
Yes. So, Fleur will arrive.
Should have taken me away. Sorry, continue.
The way she moves across is almost at a gliding stride, and she's taking in her surroundings, and she seems to be moving ever so slightly to some sort of rhythm as she walks. But when she approaches everyone, she meets their gaze, not making eye contact, but just kind of looking at everyone. And she smiles softly. And she would have heard the conversation taking place in French, yes?
As you approached, they're probably speaking in French, yeah.
Yeah, so as she approaches, she will just smile and she will say bonjour.
Francis will turn.
So we don't know each other, though, do we?
No.
No.
But she would probably know your sire, I would imagine. She's been in the city for a little bit, so.
Everyone knows Delano. He's made of love.
Yes.
He will stand up and he will do the very traditional French double kiss.
Yes, she will return that.
It's a pleasure to see you, monsieur. Once again, allow me to introduce my child. This is Fleur. Is it Fleur Noir? Noir?
Yeah, Fleur Noir.
Oh, Noir.
Yes.
Allow me to introduce Mademoiselle Fleur Noir.
She smiles and will do the same greeting if she allows it. If not, she just kind of like gives a respectful nod.
I'm in the social circle, you know.
Mm-hmm. So yes, same greeting. And yeah, she speaks very fluent French, and she will. I don't speak it beyond just basic words in real life, but
yeah, same here. I haven't for years.
but yeah, she has a slight accent too when she speaks it, and it's really apparent in English, but when she speaks French, it's not a true French accent. There's something else there too. But she'll say it is a pleasure to meet you.
I will nod to give a small curtsy.
And then she will turn to Francis. I imagine that they've probably met once or twice before.
Francis is quite new to Dublin, so maybe not. How long is Fleur Noir from Dublin?
She's from Ireland, but she lived in France for a long time, like 20 years or so. And she just returned back to Dublin just like a few weeks ago. So
well, I'm going to leave it up to the dice because it's possible he may have ran into you because
she's very social, so she would have been like at Elysium or something like that.
Yeah, I'll just roll D10. I'll just say like about 6.
And she also, if I don't know what kind of music he listens to, but she does have Fame 3 in music. She's classified as hard rock.
Yeah, because you have the Fame, he will recognize you.
Mm-hmm. So she is lead singer of Flora and the Nightingales.
Okay.
On the side note, I love her appearance specialty.
What did I put? Alluring?
No,
I think.
Toreador.
Oh. That's not her apparent specialty. That is her clan. It is Toreador.
Oh, you
Quote.
in which case, yeah, Francis will bow again, and if she allows him to take his hand, just like with
Yep.
I'm sorry, I've already forgotten the Toreador's name. I feel bad.
Monique.
Monique. That's right. To say, another star joins our constellation. Pleasure to meet you again.
She smiles. It is a pleasure to see you again as well. I'm glad we finally get to meet. And,
Yes, fate has been unkind to us, hasn't it?
And she nods. It has, yes.
You've been busy, Sharon. You've been so busy, it is quite understandable, no?
Yes, I must say, if it is one of the burdens of the role, it is that I do not get many opportunities like these. But as they say, c'est la vie.
Life goes on.
But we do have so much to share.
Well then, why don't you begin?
Flora will take a seat.
Of course. Francis will take a seat. He's been speaking French for so many years now that I don't think he really has a particularly obvious accent. Although I will say, does anyone have height sensors active?
No.
Not at the
No,
moment.
okay. It doesn't matter then.
Not active, like.
Actually, I'll allow people to make perception alertness anyway, because it is relevant.
Oh god, this means I have to roll dice.
You're gonna have to roll dice.
No!
What are we rolling?
Just perception alertness.
Oh,
To
okay.
notice something
Oh,
about.
For me, I have a perception disadvantage.
I'm good at perception.
If I can get Discord to cooperate, I may have to do it from my phone.
What are we rolling?
And on my character sheet.
Perception alertness. Yeah, Delano sees it because he's seen it before. That Francis has a concealed firearm on him.
Which number is the success? 6.
It's generally 6, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 6 unless you have any merits or powers active that will modify it.
Oh.
Okay.
I don't think I do at the moment.
Rolls. Six D10. No, D10.
Ooh.
8.
That is not a box, it is just a
Holy crap! I got 4 successes on a difficulty 8.
Oh yeah, no. So yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, you definitely see that Francis appears to have a concealed firearm on his person.
Well, she will just make note of it, but will not say a word because that would be impolite.
You know, it's not like it's a particularly large-looking weapon. It's probably something like a Glock or something like that. Just a pistol.
Yeah.
I thought you said you were at a disadvantage.
I am. I'm at a +2 because of the actual clan that my character is. I have a +2 difficulty
We all
on
know
on
your
all.
daughter Melpomene, or we all know your daughter Cacophony. Just fucking stop with the walk around the fact.
Hey, I like pretending. You shush. It's an in character thing. They don't like to reveal who they are for reasons. So they blend in usually with the Toreador. And yes, she is a daughter of Cacophony, and because of they constantly hear music in their heads, so they have a +2 to all perception rolls.
So many.
And they can never have an alertness score above 3. So, but I got 4 successes on a difficulty 8.
Might have to call upon the prince to cleanse the bloodlines.
Hey!
Shush.
So, yes, Francis takes a seat. Well, where to even start? It's been a very fascinating few months I spent within Dublin.
I'm actually just going to say before we continue, as a random tangent, fun fact, in the first game he appeared in, which was the first venue we ran, which was set in New Orleans, Delano, as he appears now, was actually secretly a Bali. In this, he's not, but he used to be. Continue.
Sad eye. Fucking okay, great. Thanks for that. Francis says, yes, where to even begin? It's been a very interesting few months. In fact, I might say I didn't even really have a moment to breathe.
Lucky that you don't have to.
Perhaps we should start with... Yes, because Delano, you were also present, I believe. You were you were taking the minutes at the negotiations.
Yeah.
For particularly fey-looking creature, as Francis his expression changes to one of bemusement as he just kind of takes a moment to wonder just how screwed up the Sabbat truly must be if they're calling on such sad, disparate creatures for help. Well, yes, that was a bit of a story. To negotiate with the Bishop of the Sabbat for territory. Of course, the Ventru led the charge, as they love to do. I myself, with Delano, attended just to ensure that they aim for the correct concessions.
Ah, yes, this was the same evening where the Nosferatu decided it would be socially acceptable to publicly second-guess the prince, huh?
Yes, he believed that the meeting and postulated it before us that it was a trap, which of course was unwise, especially considering the prince's former station. I can't imagine how anybody would think the man to be that inept in strategy, that he'd have his most elder and powerful figures just wander straight into a trap by the Sabbat. Feels rather too obvious, honestly. Needless to say, it wasn't, and the Nosferatu was reprimanded. And the Sabbat, well, we ensured that they jumped town to lick their wounds and that their remains were dealt with.
All in all, quite a profitable evening.
Definitely sounds like it.
Oh yes, it was quite the affair. It's very unusual that I get to negotiate with the Sabbat. Normally, I'm negotiating from the pointy end of the sword, so it was a rather refreshing change of pace.
There is also the matter of the Primogency that still stands open.
Yes, that is.
What about the Primogen?
We lack one.
We don't currently have one.
Oh,
Which means
Lord
if it were not
Nod.
for
No, go ahead.
which means if it were not for the good Master of Harpies here and myself, Autorial would have no representation in court at all. And we still lack representation in council discussions not pertaining to our relevant roles within.
yes, that is indeed a problem.
So, it is going to fall to one of you in order to take the place, huh?
Floor will nod and she will say, well, while I have not been around Dublin as a kindred for very long, I am relatively well versed in court affairs. I was a harpy in France.
I wouldn't contest
Yes.
that, personally. I'm more interested in my personal affairs at the moment.
Make it then. I suppose we should make it somewhat quasi-official. All those in favor of Miss Fleur taking a position, raise their hands. Hand goes up.
Francis just kind of casually raises both hands.
Delano very calmly just reaches out, takes his wrist, and just puts it down.
3-0. It's a wash.
You still have one hand up, just like, and the other one goes down.
Yes, I raise hand.
It is decided. Miss Noir will serve as Primogen for Clan Toreador.
She smiles.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I will not let our clan down, or any of you.
And my sincere apologies, Delano. You must understand of my duties. My nights have been so humorless recently.
Then it is agreeable that I bought you this, he will say as he walks through a small door that leads into some kind of office in that leads into some kind of office in the restaurant, before he walks out again with a wooden box.
Oh my, what have you gotten me? I was not expecting gifts.
Oh, it is only a minor thing to show my thoughts and positive affections.
Oh, thank you, Delano. You really shouldn't have.
Do you open it?
Yeah, sure.
He bought you shoes.
Ah!
Resources 5, influence 5, high society shoes.
I'm gonna roll for the shoes.
Okay.
Wow, those are some fancy fucking shoes.
Dude, resources 5, high society 5 shoes. Nothing beat that. Let's see, what have I got? What's my dice for this? Well, I got decent dice for this, but I can guarantee I will be entranced by these shoes if the dice have anything to say about it. Wow, no, I'm not. Wow, I get 3 successes. Francis is almost disappointed by the fact that he's not entranced by these shoes. But he knows they meet the standard. After all, Delano offers nothing but the best. And Francis, upon opening the box, his mouth opens slightly and goes, you shouldn't have. And
Nothing but the finest Italian leather, I assure you.
You remembered. Honestly, nothing but the finest should really be your motto, Delano.
Oh, that reminds me, Sheriff, have you heard about the controversy?
There have been a couple. Which one are you referring to?
The Malkavian being named to the future prospect of the Keeper of Elysium.
You know, I believed I've missed this one. Do tell.
Prince Thrain has opted to appoint, I believe his name is Rothschild, of the same family, to the position of Keeper of Elysium after a new Elysium building is built to serve the purpose. I believe the museum, it is going to masquerade as the new Museum of Modern Art. However, this is a no-named neonate Malkavian. The reason the prince is doing this is because Clan Malkavian has suffered a number of repeated PR blows recently from an individual who goes by the name of De Gaulle. Dr. De Gaulle. Have you met him?
No. I have met several other Malkavians, but not this one in particular.
He opted on his first meeting with the Seneschal to call the Seneschal's child a subhuman creature.
The silence is long and more or less speaks for itself.
Then he broke the masquerade in a minor breach in the domain of the Giovanni.
I don't understand quite. So they had a bunch of blunders, yet they're being rewarded?
This does seem wildly out of character for the prince, I must admit.
The clan has had a number of blunders. The individual is not being rewarded, but another individual from the clan is. The prince is currently desperately trying to prop up Clan Malkavian in order to make them seem as though they are not politically weak and thus being targeted, etc. It is a clever move, but if Clan Malkavian's social stock continues to plummet, then it will not be long before they become too damaged to be dealt with.
I believe they should earn that place, so...
I don't see how this... You said that Rothschild is a no-name neonate? How is he supposed to enforce Elysium?
I honestly don't know.
So I suppose we should keep an eye on him.
I have no idea what it is that he is planning to do, or how it is he is planning to do it, mainly that he has been given the authority to do such and be such.
Curious.
I suppose the question...
Maybe they're trying to sabotage them further.
Possible. But then again, Prince Thrain is incredibly direct. If he wanted to destroy someone, he would destroy someone. He does not tend to go about backdoor politics and backbiting. He's more of the old school Ventrue who are more direct and to the point.
Yeah, but why destroy them if they can destroy themselves?
Is fair.
Hmm. It is definitely possible that it is an attempt to embroil them further in controversy by seemingly throwing them a bone. It is strange, I must admit. This doesn't strike me as being within the prince's character, but you know him better than I do, Delano.
I know him well enough, as well as anyone really does. He is not one for idle conversation.
No. Well, I suppose that's another issue I'll notably end up dealing with Giovanni with.
Though I find something of interest that might be of interest to you, Sheriff.
I'll do go on.
Do you know a man who goes by the name of Glenn Heavyside?
Yes.
He is an elder member of Clan Malkavion. Delano opens the really large leather-bound book that he keeps kind of chained to his hip, and he opens it, and you can see his finger running down the pages, and he says, "This ledger belonged to the previous RP before I did to take over the city. And I was looking back over it in order to get and ascertain some pertinent information." He taps his finger and he turns the book around so that those who are seated at the table can see it. It says, "Prince of Dublin, Prince Alexander Stahlheim, who is the Tremere Prince of Dublin, owes one life boon to Glyn Heavyside." It doesn't give any more information than that there.
Now that is very, very interesting.
I have no idea why it is, however, but it apparently was signed into existence in 1984.
Lucy, is there anything relevant about Dublin's history in that time? Like, as in the vampire domain, not the actual mortal history?
Nothing of overly sequential note, no. I mean, Stalheim was Prince of Dublin for nearly 100 years, so it was during a relatively peaceful and uneventful period in his reign.
Hmm. I've met Heaverside.
Mm.
I didn't know he was as well connected as he is. I know he is purportedly an elder whose existence within Dublin goes back some distance. Several centuries before Prince Stolsheim.
Mm.
It wouldn't surprise me if he somehow managed to maneuver his way into acquiring a life boon over the man. He's definitely someone who goes out of his way to mask his prowess. Still, that is something I'll have to keep an eye on in the future. Thank you for telling me. But yes, yes, that was right. Giovanni, issues of the Giovanni. So I ran into a rather amusing little complaint from the Giovanni clan. It appears the Tremere known as Ivanov has misappropriated a service that Clan Giovanni provided to him. Supposedly, according to... One second as I actually get up his name. Because I should be recording this Harpy's Ledger as owing this man a boon. Yes. According to Don De Medici, Ivanov came to him on bended knee, looking for supernatural aid in the niche that the Giovanni truck in. Clan Giovanni acquiesced and provided him, frankly, a no-name peon for a rather substantial amount of prestation. I believe he owes currently the clan Giovanni several boons. I believe it was 2 minor boons. But during the incident that this Giovanni had been loaned to Ivanov for, he managed to engulf a church in fire and almost get this Giovanni killed. If I recall, he threw a Bible at some sort of infernal ward. Not going to hear that again for a few decades. He does clap his hands, by the way.
Delighted to tap the table.
Yes, apparently Ivanov's sire and Francis's smile fades somewhat. The individual we know as Aisha, who, if you've... He doesn't, and when he says if you, he looks to Monique and Fleur, not really assuming anything of Delano. If you haven't heard of him already, he is on the red list.
Oh my.
I don't believe I have, no.
We can discuss him later. Needless to say, if you'd see him, it would be best to extract yourself from the situation and call for a lot of help.
Fleur just gives a nod, like, yes, okay. Yes,
Ivanov was looking into his sire's activities, brought this Giovanni neonate, who, if I recall, was called Gino, into a church, started messing around with whatever Aisha had done in there, and then threw a Bible at some infernal mysticism, which I am no expert, but even I could guess that to be poorly advised, given that when you put two opposites together, the chemical reaction is often spontaneous and violent. And it exploded into a rather liberating eruption of balefire, which consumed the building and almost the Giovanni. I believe Emily Stevenson was also there. She gets herself into a lot of trouble, I found.
Who is that?
She is some gangrel anarch. She has been helpful to the domain despite her rather sorry affiliations.
I see.
She's aided us several times now. Even went out of her way to aid us in protecting an Archon from a mercenary hit squad. But yes, needless to say, Emily Stevenson and this Giovanni almost lost their lives in this fire, and Giovanni, of course, believed that they have been misled in the boons that they have offered, for this is not worthy of a minor boon, but a major. And, well, I can't really say I disagree. I do intend to speak to Ivan of this at some point, but it's more or less an issue set in stone. It's more of a courtesy call than anything else. But yes, they have come to me with that complaint. And of course, Monster of Harpies, considering that you possess the Ledger of Boons and you decide, and in many ways decide who owes what to who, it's very much within your wheelhouse.
Good. So, my friends, I think the question that we must answer this evening, the most pertinent and important question is, what does Clan Toreador want moving forward?
Or what was he saying? What does Clan Toreador want?
Moving forward.
That is a very good question.
Yes, we've all been rather focused on our personal interests as of late, haven't we? It would be... You know, I was considering once we decided on our Primogen that perhaps for one left out among us vie for Keeper with our combined resources. That would actually be a task we may be able to accomplish if the Prince is not so dead set on trying to prop up the Markavians. But with two of us, or three of us, now in positions of substantial power in the city, he may simply turn us down to simply curb our ascension. I'm currently working on gathering as much information and control over the city as possible. Within circles we're used to and ones we're not.
Well, I think the best would be to prove our own loyalty first. If the prince feels that we want to take up too much power, perhaps we're going to lose any steps we took forward.
Well,
but yeah, I'm not a very political person, so...
No disrespect, but I have burned for an Archon. If I have not proven my loyalty at this point to the domain, I doubt anything will. Perhaps it would be wise if we cannot obtain more positions personally, that we reach out to those who already have them. most of the clans within the city seem fairly standoffish with each other right now. Or, that is not correct. Distanced? I'm actually rather surprised at the lack of factionalism.
Then could we act as mediators, perhaps?
You know, that is actually quite an interesting idea. If we position ourselves as neutral parties in various interclan conflicts. It absolves us of having to involve ourselves without costing us the prestige such intrigue often affords its purveyors. Could be another reason why the keeper position is worthy of inspection. But we are all Toreador. We all have our venues.
It's true.
We could work towards building one of our own, setting it up as a neutral space.
I like that idea.
Yes, I would also support that.
Because our clan is generally known for hosting social gatherings, and if we have a space to do so, then people would likely want to come and mingle, and we can get to know people and their habits a bit better that way.
Indeed, and if the prince is looking to keep the city, seemingly, I can only guess from his merciful offerings to the clan Malkavian, seeking to keep the clans united and strong, and playing to their particular forte, then I say, let us play to ours. After all, it was our clan that hosted the Convention of Thorns. It was our clan that convinced everybody the masquerade was necessary to begin with. Let us play to the tune to which we are most familiar.
And we're definitely better at it than the Malkavians, that's for sure.
Fleur just gives a bit of a smile at that. It's not a particularly wide smile, but at those words, she smiles in approval.
At the end of the evening, even if we do not possess the title of a keeper, everybody know we may as well. After all, we should set an example to Malkavians if they do intend to possess this title. Either they should step up their particular game as holders of title and position, or let it known to be everybody that they are unworthy of it and simply allow the other clans to bypass it through our own venues instead.
I do think
Indeed.
that we shouldn't, though, get in their faces about it.
Oh no, no,
For
this is
assistance, perhaps.
Oh no, of course. It will be handled with the utmost grace and subtlety.
yes. We need not make this a competition. Rather, we should let our work speak for itself.
We build it, they will come, they will prefer it.
Yeah, there is no competition, really.
Yes, we don't. We don't go to our patrons. Our patrons come to us. And I'm sure of a mutual effort we can create a venue far beyond this Museum of Art. Is peaceable and elegant and secure. I'm sure it all is. I'm sure it is going to be quite the beautiful Elysium.
Do you have
But
something in mind in particular?
well, this is actually where I defer to your collective expertise. See, I am...
We certainly shouldn't make something that's too similar or close to what they have, so...
Oh no, let's go for something a bit different. It's a museum. Let's try something a little more interactive, a little more lively, perhaps. A little more, maybe even more theatrical. But again, I defer to your expertise. I am the sheriff. I was
actually about to suggest some sort of music venue where we can have live shows and time where there isn't a live band playing. We can have just music playing. We can have like different themed nights, like a jazz night, a rock night, stuff like that.
I love that idea, personally.
How large of a venue are we considering? I assume we want it to be ballroom-esque. Of course. We're also going to need fine... what's the word? We're going to need only the finest of refreshments to make this work. And... I'm wondering if music is the only thing we can have there. Maybe it is simply part of the establishment itself. Sometimes that is its totality, sometimes it is not. Almost like he thinks for a second, his hands kind of swirl as if he's trying to find the words. Like the burlesque houses of old, where it was not just a place of theatrics, but also of gamesmanship, gambling, chance, and also of drinking and merriment.
Of course. So I am definitely open to that as well.
Only use it as degenerates for nothing, right?
I think the trick will be in balancing all these various leisures, these themes, these leisures into one cohesive whole.
Of course. It's going to take some time and planning. Right now it's just some rough ideas, but we can we have a foundation to work from. We have a goal in mind, and we can now figure out how we're going to reach it, and what exactly we want it to do can be refined along the way.
But yes, I think a neutral venue. However, actually, I say this, there is one very important caveat to this. One very important question, and it is where. Because there is the issue of domain. Because if we do not possess the area's domain, then we will not be able to enforce this theme of neutrality and mutual comfort and safety. And
so we must acquire the domain first. figure
Yes.
out where, find an unclaimed portion, and apply for domain over it.
I do possess the domain of Blackrock in the city, if
Oh,
that suits your tastes.
I think we can work with that.
Evan, do you want to tell them what Blackrock is like? Because you know it much better than I do.
Yes, please. Tell us.
Sorry, out of character about the domain. I do have 1 dot in domain. Would that factor in?
1 dot would be fairly small, be like a single building or something, wouldn't it?
Probably.
More like
I think so, yeah.
building
I didn't
or
buy
a
it.
few buildings.
I didn't buy any domain. I ran out of points.
So there is that. We could, of course, always apply for a mutual clan domain. Of course, if it's only 1 building, it won't be much to ask for, but the domain will
Well, that's
extract its
sort of-
pound of flesh from us.
Right, and that's what I was sort of having in mind, was if we have a collective clan domain, then that might look a little bit better, so that it's completely like our territory. While you're in it, our rules are enforced, and it's not just one of ours, it's all of ours.
Agreed.
So you can keep your personal, and then we have ours as a clan.
Yes. I suppose at this point it's merely a matter of figuring out the most cost-efficient way of acquiring this domain, if we feel the need to do so at all. He just kind of wraps an arm around. Well, after all, you are you have arrived very recently, yes? I presume you have yet to acquire any domain of your own? Perhaps if a single individual were to request a domain rather than a full clan, it would be somewhat easier for the clan to acquire.
Well, I do need to present myself to the. In this game, is there a Primogen Council, or just straight to the prince to declare Primogenship over the clan? Evan. I don't think he's there.
Never mind. It's I believe this. Actually, the sheriff should know this. So, I believe the seneschal handles most of the day-to-day affairs of the domain, although the prince may wish to see you. But it is a foregone conclusion. You're both alone shall
Well, I will need
see you
to.
recognized.
Since you were voted
right.
in as Primogen of the clan, then wouldn't that give you some right to a clan domain?
That's what I'm wondering. It's different in every place, but I'm thinking that since I need to declare that I am Primogen of the clan anyway, maybe I can acquire some domain that way, and see, what that might take, if I can get it automatically, if we need to do something like, that there might be some perks afforded. I'm not sure.
Well,
I haven't been here quite long enough to know the ins and outs of that here. Like I said, it's different every place.
If we require capital, I could assist in acquiring it.
She nods.
I too am. I believe we're all fairly wealthy in mortal terms here. His hand kind of slips back round to his lap as he begins to gesture fairly softly but openly. Perhaps it would be best if we were to announce your rise to the Primogenship post recognition. We wouldn't want the prince to believe Clan Toreador is becoming presumptuous in
Okay.
how it's elects
She
its
can-
representatives.
Yes, she nods. I
do hope we will have a party.
I agree with that.
So.
But of course.
It would be refreshing. It is. I do not attend nearly enough parties anymore.
Well, it comes with the extra responsibilities, I suppose.
Oh yes, it appears I am Vitoridor, cursed to fear where none other dare to tread. He kind of slumps a bit and rolls his eyes as if to be like, ugh. I believe I've been condemned to Sir Drains far more than any member of our clan ever deserves to be. Still.
I believe we could rectify that. Especially after we have our own establishment.
I do very much need to make up for lost time. Not that I'm saying that is the primary reason of why I suggest these ideas, oh no, but it definitely does provide me with an outlet to express myself.
Two birds, one stone, way I see it.
And this is why the clan forever has my heart.
Fleur will nod in agreement with that.
Yes. If you have any need of me in these endeavors, I do have some connections to higher social circles, although they are merely fledgling right now, given my fairly recent arrival to the domain, and my duties have kept me from my personal interests. I can also afford us quite some manner of mortal security, and I do intend to upgrade that security as time goes on.
Fantastic.
Oh yes. If there's one thing I can aid this clan project on, it is a matter of security.
That we will definitely need.
So tempted to point out you're the only Toreador who's embraced without any artistic talent. So tempted.
Don't.
Maybe he has other talents.
Oh, he does. He's the sheriff.
Exactly.
I'll get performance eventually.
Who's a warrior door? You're a warrior door.
I'm not a warrior door.
Aww.
I'm 3/4 warrior door, quarter.
Very adorable.
Yeah, that's that one. That's 25% warrior adorable. The 75% normal warrior door. Yes. Then I believe we have a general plan. You shall be presented to either the prince or the sheriff, whoever deigns to recognize you, which I would hope is the prince. Then shortly thereafter, you will be recognized as our primogen to ensure that there is no confusion or unnecessary questions asked as to your validity to the position, or legitimacy rather. And then we can get to work on our project, and if needs be, we shall look to, or rather, you can look to procuring your domain to host, or we can have a venue constructed within my domain. Choice is yours. You are the primogen after all. Lindsay, you're muted.
Sorry, what did he say?
Oh, he said, "Where did you get lost?"
I missed the question.
Oh, he said, so I believe we have a rough idea. You and he kind of gestures towards you, Fleur. Again, you shall be presented to the Seneschal, the Prince, whoever deigns to recognize you, which I sincerely hope is the Prince.
Indeed, I do as well.
Shortly after, you shall be recognized as our Primogen, so there are no questions as to the legitimacy of your title. Then we can go about procuring a domain, or rather your domain, for this venue, or it can be hosted within Blackrock. The choice is always yours, as you are Primogen.
She thinks about that for a moment. I think we should try to acquire a different domain, and if that is not possible, then we have yours to fall back on.
I have no doubt that the Prince will provide you with suitable domain in exchange perhaps for a boon, but that will only be able to be seen and ascertained in time.
Of course. No doubt that the Princedom will extract its pound of flesh for the procurement of domain, but it is a necessary sacrifice. And if there is one most brilliant positive to this whole affair that I do feel the need to say, it is that if we do construct a neutral venue, that and the Toreador are framed as unbiased and neutral and amenable to all parties, as we should be, at least if they are deserving, then what few murmurings there are about the concept of bias among your views, Master of Harpy, shall surely be rendered even more irrelevant than they already were.
Me? Not impartial. Perish the thought.
I know, precisely. It is already a fine travesty.
Just because the Nosferatu have been uncouth and the Malkavians have been lunatics, there's no reason to think that I'm being in any way favoritist.
Precisely.
On the side of I just should point out Bishop still has active status at 5 because the Harpy keeps talking him up.
Yay. I think I took that away from my sheet like 3 months ago. I was sad, it's still 5.
The other thing, if you end up owing a boon to the prince, it's not such a bad thing, is it?
The boon economy is important, young one. After all, it's not like we really value money.
No, it is quite easy to become rich as a kindred. But boons are quite valuable, but they can also be quite... well, if Ivanov's incident is to prove anything, is that they can put one in a fair degree of peril if they are owed to the wrong individual. Of course, the Prince, I would not suggest is the wrong person to owe a boon to.
What was I going to say? Delano kind of puts up a finger to kind of hold the conversation for a moment as he flicks through his book. You see him flick, 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 flick. And he says, it does not only appeal to me, Monsieur Ivanov, who is, shall we say, owing boons as if it is going out of style. Clan Malkavian also owes at least one major boon to Clan Giovanni.
I have to wonder if this is because of the masquerade breach they caused in their domain.
More than likely, as the prince was not made aware of it from the point of view of having to serve as arbiter, I suspect Giovanni more than likely took care of it and then exacted the pound of flesh.
I can't blame them. I'd have done the same thing in their shoes.
Though there is also the fact that you also owe Florin de Medici a major boon.
Yes, I did make sure not to owe it to the clan, and I did manage to lure it from 2 majors to a single major. The matter pertained to my duties, and I required the Giovanni's assistance moving forward with that investigation. They were tied to the mercenary team that tried to abscond with one of our archons, the one I mentioned I burned for earlier.
Hmm.
And I've actually made a great deal of progress. I believe I'm close to its completion. I would speak more of it, however, the information right now is so sensitive that I dare not, for it may do more to put you all at risk than anything else. But you will certainly be hearing about it in the nights to come, I assure you of that. If there is a prediction I can make with a fair degree of certainty, is that everything will become public sooner rather than later.
In that case, do we have any other business to attend to, or shall we call this meeting to a close?
I suppose, at least from my perspective, there isn't much else left to discuss.
Claire just shakes her head. I don't believe so.
Oh, there is one. There is actually...
Sorry.
Oh,
ahead.
no.
I'm good now.
Francis snaps his fingers. Oh, no, I do have to ask, when is your next performance?
Mine?
Yes, yours.
Oh, we are actually taking time off as a band. I may do a solo performance here and there. I haven't booked anything yet, though.
Tell me when you do.
Of course.
I would also like an invitation to that.
Absolutely.
They're two
Very well.
heroes who should support each other.
She
And
smiles.
as the topic goes into idle small talk about her, singing "Bring Me to Life," etc., and my immortal, I'm sorry, I had to shit post the Evanescence look.
Great.
We will end
It's
our scene. So thank you guys for playing. Thank you for watching. This has been another scene in Darkness in Dublin. Have a pleasant evening.